From the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix in 1967 to Freddie Mercury from 1986 to Michael Jackson in 1995 to MCR in 2006 to EXO in 2018 and 2025, or should I say 2026. Not to mention Coldplay, Beyonce, and Rihanna, dozens of musical artists throughout history have sported this jacket. And I've been forever curious about the origins of this style of jacket and its iterations, and I'm here to finally discuss its history and my own thoughts as to why it's become a staple of pop and rock icons. And just note, I'm not a menswear expert. Follow the menswear guy in Blue Sky for a more detailed history, but this is just research I did and found out, and I did my best to condense it here along with my own thoughts and opinions, so let's go. Part 1, No Ordinary Jacket. Though I put the name marching band jacket in the title, the marching band jacket we know today from high schools and colleges across the US and donned by various entertainers and artists is actually a simplified version of a jacket that dates back hundreds of years ago. The origins of the jacket seem to come from the Hussars or the light cavalry in 15th and 16th century Hungary. They wore ornate jackets called attilas and fur hats known as shakos or busbies. I should note here that dolman jackets were also braided decorated military shirts or jackets used by hussars, but were less ornate, while the attilas were reserved for higher ranking officials and were more intricate. The hussars later moved across Western Europe as mercenaries. In the late 17th and 18th century, many Hungarian hussars sought employment in other Central and Western European countries and became the core of similar light cavalry formations created there. Following their example, hussar regiments were introduced to at least 12 European armies by 1800. Later in the 1800s, the hussars were romanticized figures who were generally depicted as dashing soldiers known for their brightly colored uniforms and distinct style. Some hussar troops even went to the US to fight as redcoats with German Hessians against the US colonists. There were even Georgian hussars and hussars from New Jersey who both fought during the Civil War wearing Attila-style jackets as a nod to their Hungarian origins. During the Victorian era in Scotland, bagpipers donned Attila-inspired jackets as well. By the 1870s, post-Civil War in the US, Attila, or I guess more dolman-inspired jackets, began being worn by military bands. The gold braiding was toned down, but the busby hat remained, though not totally covered in fur. Instead, a feather plume would sit atop their caps. According to Cousins' concert attire, by the end of the 18th century and early 1800s, musicians became less important in directing troops' movements on the battlefield, and these military bands moved into ceremonial roles. These traditions then expanded into military schools and beyond, giving birth to the school or collegiate marching band. It was also during the mid-19th century that school marching bands began to play at American football games, swapping military colors for the school colors on their uniform, further moving marching bands of America away from only being at military functions. By the turn of the century, the band uniform we know today was solidified in the US and would later trickle down to high school marching bands. And it was all inspired by the hussars. So why was this style chosen in particular? I personally would have to do a lot more research to find the connection as to why Hungarian cavalry uniforms were then chosen for military, college, and school bands in the US. One guess is because Hungarian hussars in the 18th century used verbungos, or an army recruitment song and dance to entice people to join their ranks, but that's all I came up with. From what I can infer, the hussars being romanticized figures and donning flamboyantly colored uniforms like red, green, and even pink was eye-catching. Not to mention the gold braiding and tall fur hats. So now that we delved into the history of the jacket's origins, let's get into how it became part of US and UK pop iconography. According to the JSTOR article, The Storied History of HBCU Marching Bands, writ large, marching bands in America are a 19th century invention, and a handful of contributing factors led to their success as an American institution. During the industrial and mass media development of the 1800s, more standardized production made wind and brass instruments more affordable and better sounding in groups. Manufacturers eagerly pushed for their widespread adoption, writes Trevor Herbert. New portable instruments such as the saxophone were invented as well. The Civil War trained and utilized unprecedented numbers of musicians in military bands that accompanied marching and drilling and provided entertainment. From the 1880s through World War I, March King John Philip Sousa performed American exceptionalism in loud marches and braided uniform. On the regional level, the marching band came to be understood as a moral, educational, community-focused, and civic-minded institution. Just think of Harold Hill's urgent pitch to the citizens of River City in The Music Man. How could any pool table ever hope to compete with a gold trombone? The Music Man started on Broadway in 1957, and then became a huge hit as a movie musical in 1962, reaching millions of viewers. But it's supposed to take place in 1912. And by the 60s, the public was very aware of marching band style that correctly matched the band look in the early 1900s. And in the late 60s, in 1967 to be exact, the Beatles came out with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, with a focus on brass instrumentation of a marching band. They, as marching band members, or as a psychedelic pseudo-military-esque band, don long, colorful dolman-inspired jackets, setting a pop culture precedent for male acts for the century to come. A few days later, Jimi Hendrix performed his cover of the album's titular song, and that year, in 1967, was also photographed in an Attila-inspired jacket with bold gold braiding, reinterpreting the marching band style as an album of rock and roll and 60s counterculture. And there might have been popular male artists before this time who donned dolman-inspired jackets, but I think the Beatles and Hendrix are the most iconic to transform the look from the Music Man to something cool, like a fashion statement. And I think it's good here to differentiate between the military jacket aesthetic, like the more modern contemporary military jacket that John Lennon donned or even that SNSD have worn, to the marching band style jacket, which, though has roots in the military, has evolved into something that's more music related, either related to marching bands or to rock and pop. Wearing an Attila or Hussar jacket signifies that you're an artist now. And it's become so ubiquitous with musical acts today, thanks to the likes of Michael Jackson, it's been a staple of wardrobes for various groups and soloists. From EXO to MCR to even Beyonce's Homecoming, though I didn't see that many marching band Attila-style uniforms there, but they probably needed more comfortable clothes to move around in. And it was actually a nice surprising departure from what was expected of marching bands, and marching band attire today is always changing and less about strict uniform guidelines than it is about self-expression. Why the Attila jacket was chosen as a modern fashion statement specifically, aside from huge names making it so and paying homage to marching bands, I don't know. It could go back to their flamboyancy, to the long history of reappreciation for marching bands in the past 70 years or so. It could just be because they look cool. Maybe because artists are like commanding or commandeering their fans. It makes them look like leaders of a large crowd, like a marching band or an army, if you will. Let me know what you think down below. So that's it for this one. I hope you liked it and learned something new like I did. One thing I'm left wondering now is why military-style costuming is so popular with musical acts. Anyway, if you like this one, please leave a comment, share it with someone, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.